a smaller pool where he had a larger pool. I mean, this ridiculous stuff that goes on the zoning board, excuse me, with the zoning office, and also with not even being able to revise an ordinance so somebody can have a VRBO and bring even more money to the town by letting them rent out their camper in a derelict RV site that has decrepit campers, which, by the way, are not assessed vacant abandoned property fees, or the Playboy Club is addressed vacant and abandoned property fees. I mean, look at the ridiculousness of what's going on. But yet marijuana gets a big thing. You know, the mayor goes on about a bunch of rhetoric on for hours and about pictures and everything else. Why don't we get to the heart of the matter of what makes a good town and what is smart planning? You abolished the Historic Preservation Commission, which is a major part of the master plan. Does anyone even read the master plan? I mean, I can't even believe that the township planner went and gave her update to the state and failed to mention that the abolishment of the Historic Preservation Commission. Was that intentional? And then to hear went on tonight with this, what transpired before with the voting and the variance and bypassing the land use board, that's ridiculous. We need to replace the planner. We need to get rid. Howard, your time is over. Harry, Mike, if you don't want to show up, then quit. Enough is enough with this town. I deal with developers. I'm working on a $100 million project right now. Do you know what a $100 million project would do for Vernon? That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Sally Rinker.
Ms. Rinker?
Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
I'm sorry, I was having computer problems. Well, anyway, good evening. Though I wanted to refrain, I have a few comments regarding the naming of the new park in Pump Track. For those who don't know, I lost my son Jason in January 2021 due to a motorcycle accident. He was a lifelong individual competitive athlete. The last 15 years of his life, he operated the Ritopia bike shop next to Mountain Creek. I could spend a lot of time sharing my son's life story, but for now, I will say this. He made a positive impact on many here. Besides running his bike shop, he helped kids get into the sport, and he had a reputation as a master mechanic. He also holds the national record for downhill mountain biking in his age category. His dream was to build a pump track here in Vernon. So the pump track, now built by the town, is soon to be complete. Of course, I believe if the pump track was to be named in honor of anyone, it would be my son, Jason. But beyond me, the biking community and many others here are very energized and hopeful to be able to honor my son in some way in connection to this pump track. I am so honored by their efforts for Jason, speaking at these meetings, collecting hundreds of petition signatures, and earnestly interested in the success of the pump track for Vernon. That being said, I want to make three things very clear. Number one, Councilmember Lynch was being very disingenuous when he said tonight he knew of no specific name being mentioned. He and other council members knew very well that the bike community was coming to the June 13th meeting to put their request on the record. 3 council members decided to close the door to the public on June 13th in a curious rush to name a park that they long opposed. Number 2, I want to say, Mayor Burrell never promised me nor anyone that he would put my son's name on the park sign, not my son nor any other individual. He maintained that an honor such as that should come not from him as mayor, not from several members of a council, but from public groundswell support. Number 3, as Jason's mom, I say no matter what name this pump track gets, it will be known by those in the biking community and industry as connected to my son. It started with him and finished by the town. Governing like we all saw on January 13th, voting on a resolution not on the agenda to purposely circumvent the public and two other council members was frankly an ugly move based in spite. Governing by spite shortchanges all Vernon residents. Personally, I look forward to the joy and benefits the pump track will bring to our community and youth, as I will see my son's dream come true. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
I have no other hands up.
Seeing no one coming forward? Not, I'll ask for a
Make
motion.
the motion to close the meeting to public comment.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
Second by Mrs. Bucieri. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving to council comments. Mr. Fury, do you have any comments?
All right, thank you, Pat. What happened tonight is an embarrassment and should never happen at our meetings ever again, period. Mayor, town council, and residents, my comments tonight are focused on one goal: to focus on the topics Vernon need to continue working on to make us a township for everyone. The cannabis dilemma. I'm pleased that we passed the ordinance to allow for the business owners to build cultivation sites in Vernon. I will make every effort as a council member to make this process as easy as possible to bring the much needed tax revenue to the township. Bike park and trails. It is my understanding a lot of progress is made to complete the trail and the pump track. The naming of the park should go through an ordinance process with as much input from the public as possible. The naming of the park without any input from council members or myself is simply a stunt to hijack the pump track trail and is completely wrong. The other members, long before they were elected, were opposed to this project. After they were elected, until today's meeting. The hard work on these projects was done by the GAC and the previous council, and they took the opportunity to hijack the naming of the park. I support the mayor's effort to not follow the resolution passed by the council and stay with the name of the park with its original name, the Vernon Town Center Bike Park. I also support any work that needs to be done by DPW employees to finish the project. The ownership of Black Creek Drive is the township. And in the agreement, all right, I am in agreement with that determination. I apologize. Water and sewer project. I asked for an update of the water project and did not receive one. I have these general questions for Mayor Burrell and Chuck on the water project. What is the status of the Suez agreement, which is critical to that whole process? And the other really important question is who from the township, who in particular from the township is in charge of that project or is managing that project? So those are just general questions. You don't need to necessarily answer them now. On the sewer side, the township has to complete the 2 projects for the sewer system. The most important projects are Pump Station 2, which need to be done soon to avoid any kind of environmental issues, and then to also complete the sewer service area. While these questions may be for the MUA, the township has an obligation. The township has the obligation to complete these projects. I want to respectfully request that Dewberry engineers do a presentation at the July 25th meeting, giving us an update on the project and the American Rescue Plan funding. I would ask this of Town Council President Rizzuto tonight, if we can ask for a discussion item at the next meeting, I would appreciate that. Concerning legends, last meeting, Council Member Shortway asked about starting the process of condemnation I support his suggestion to begin this process and once and for all address this blight to the township. I would like also to respectfully request the council draft a resolution for the next meeting with an up or down vote. Once again, I ask the town council president, can we put this on the agenda? In conclusion, I realize I was appointed as a council member, but I should never be continuously marginalized and ignored. Finally, tonight, I announce my intention to run for council seat in November 2022. That ends my comments. Thank you.
Mr. Shortway?
Thank you. I brought this up on January 10th of this year regarding public comments at the end of the meeting. Ordinance number 19-21 states there will be a second period of public comments at the end of each council meeting. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes where the public may speak on any topic. So any council person that favors it to be 5 minutes, we should change the ordinance. We cannot keep going on 5 minutes when the ordinance says 3 minutes. Second, frankly, it's very difficult when people criticize you. I've been in those seats for the last 6.5 years, but under no circumstance should we interrupt one of our fellow, either the mayor or council person's comments. The mayor has, and this is from the Faulkner Act, the mayor has a right to speak, at a council meeting, but has no vote and does not need to attend. We should not interrupt each other and let each other express their opinion. On a brighter side, July is Disability Pride Month, which is celebrating its 32nd year after the Americans with Disability Act, ADA, was passed on July 26, 1990, to prohibit discrimination against people with disabilities. The Americans with Disability Act was signed by President George H.W. Bush. The ADA also increases access and opportunities in key areas like transportation, employment, public accommodations, communications, and services. In 2019 at Veterans Memorial Park, we improved the walkway to make it ADA compliant. The former walkway had crumbled to pieces in several locations. The current ADA walkway connects parking lot to parking lot, so it goes end to end, giving access to the snack bar if it ever opens, restrooms, in the play area without walking near the road. In 2021, one of the capital projects was the replacement of the front doors with ADA compliant doors. And now we are constructing an ADA walkway around the bike pump track in Vernon Township at the Vernon Town Center Park that offers spectacular views of the valley and the mountains. Why do we do this? Not because it's the law. It's because Vernon, we do care, and we are committed to serving all our people. And we should continue to do that. Thank you.
Mrs. Bucieri?
Thank you. I want to start by commenting on an event that I was able to attend weeks ago, I think. Mr. Lynch and I actually were both able to attend the Sussex County Senior Olympics. And I have to say it was a great event. Our rec department, senior services department outdid themselves. The athletes had a great time. The atmosphere and the camaraderie was just awesome. In addition to Councilman Lynch and myself, our mayor was there. We had our EMS volunteers, our DPW helped set things up. Our police were there. The Sussex County Sheriff's Department, the Sussex County Senior Services Department, all helped make that day happen. In addition, I had reached out to Frank Pallotta, congressional candidate for CD5, our district, and invited him to attend. He was able to be there for the Olympian March and the opening ceremonies, which were really great. Mr. Pallotta commented several times on our beautiful park, our great municipal and county workers, and how happy he was to attend this positive event. Due to COVID, the Senior Olympics were not able to be held the past couple of years. This was the first time in 2 years, and Vernon was really honored to be able to host the event. Seniors from around the county participated in games like, I think one was called Throw the Chicken. It was really fun. They were competing for the typical gold, silver, and bronze medals. And our Vernon seniors did not disappoint. They brought home the gold, which I was very excited to hear. I know it's not always about winning, but it is nice to win. And I just want to thank all of our town and municipal workers and county workers and volunteers that just made that possible, because it really was just a great event, and it was a great time, a great atmosphere. And I think it really was a very positive thing for our town and all the people that were able to participate. Mayor, I do have a quick question for you. We did talk about performance reviews for our employees, or your employees actually, at our last meeting, and you had said that was on your radar, and I just wondered if you made any progress with implementing a plan or looking into that.
We have made some progress. We've got samples of several reviews, and I've actually reviewed 2 employees, and for those employees, what I did, we had already discussed with those employees their objectives for the year. We looked at what their accomplishments were and what they foresaw in terms of trends that would make their departments more valuable to the town. And I use that as a guide. But we do have about 4 or 5 different formats that we're.
Okay, yeah, well, I mean, there are like certain programs you can use, so you're looking into different.
Yes, in
Well,
fact, we've got samples from some other towns
okay,
from,
All right.
From the state, county, so we're looking at those.
okay, good. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I do find it very interesting that while there are so many pressing issues in our town, that our mayor uses his time for comments to complain about the council and certain members of the council. You continue to use the comments to disrespect, disparage certain council members. I understand that the mayor has strong feelings about certain topics. Today's topic was the naming of the Vernon pump track. And I can respect that. I think that can be communicated without insulting members of this governing body, without continuing to use disparaging adjectives, waiting, name calling. I think we can disagree without doing that. I think you can make your views known without insulting others. I know I talked about not being here in person, and Mike did comment that he didn't feel like that I was fair and that I was accusing him of not participating fully, and that was not my intention. My intention was not to insult Mr. Fury. My intention was to just explain, I felt that by not being here in person, he didn't have the same impact. Not that he was not engaged or interested, but I felt it diminished his impact by not being here in person. I think that's a difference. And I hope you understand that, Mike.
Yes, I
didn't.
do.
Thank you. So I think we can have those conversations without insulting members of this body, without disparaging, without name calling, without repeatedly saying the same thing over and over and then going and posting it on Facebook that night. I think we can do that because we're all adults and we represent our community. And what happened today was embarrassing, and I apologize for my part in that. Everyone has the right to speak. I shouldn't interrupt. None of us should, and I apologize for that too. I think going forward, perhaps we can all step back and take some time and think about what we're saying and how we would feel receiving that, and figure out a way to communicate our differences without insulting others. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Couture. Mr. Lynch.
Council President, I just want to let the good people of Barry Lakes know that I spoke with the DPW director who was here this evening, and he told me that the Karen Road drainage project will be commence next week sometime. And that's what I got for that. I do want to speak about the issues that were brought up here this evening. I find it really ironic that the mayor, council members Fury and Shortway are appalled that we had a vote and named the pump track how we did. And yet they seem to forget that back in December of 2021, the three new council members were at the December meeting, asking them to hold off on voting on the pump track until after we get seated, but they ignored us at the meeting as if we weren't there. And yet they let other ordinances go that were so important at the time, just so they can get done what they wanted to do. So when I hear people say, pointing fingers at us for stuff that they've done themselves, it just makes me scratch my head. I am going to ask the council president if we could have a resolution, because I would like a breakdown of how much money it costs to build this pump track. I'd like to ask our township attorney, what do we have to do to make sure that Black Creek Drive is our property? Just saying it's ours is not good enough. Any of the information that the council president and I have given to the mayor was a good start, but it's not the end all. We need proof that we own that property before any taxpayer money is used to pave it. And with the deal that FW Webb is doing right now, I want to be able to make sure that we do our job, because the property commingles with the other. On July 4th, I attended a parade in Cliffwood Lake. Every July 4th in Cliffwood Lake, they have a parade, and the fire department's there, and all of the residents that want to march. You've been there, Pat. And they had about 100 people that were marching, and we had the fire trucks, and we had the fire chief's car, and we had people on bicycles. We had other cars that were there, and it was just a great time in a great community. And I want to say thank you to Cliffwood Lake for the invitation. That ends my comments.
Thank you. My comments are going to be brief. I've lived in this community for 55 years, and I've devoted easily 26 years, 25 years of service to this community. And tonight, I cannot say I was proud of myself. I have tried in the past to maintain a very calm demeanor, even while the mayor continues to criticize the council or myself or other individuals. But at this point, I just felt that his comments were not necessary, and I was hoping he would simply agree to let them go and let him post on his pages that he does on a regular basis. So I do apologize to the people of Vernon for the outburst. It won't happen again, but I will take steps to make sure that it works both ways. As regards to what Mr. Lynch said, prior to being seated, three of us had a substantial plurality. Mr. Lynch was the highest vote getter, and then Mrs. Bucieri and myself, and I was almost 1,000 votes more than the next highest individual who supported these two projects. We ran categorically opposed to them, not because we didn't want to have them take place, but because for whatever reason, they were cited incorrectly, and they were not planned as I would have expected. And my expectations do matter, since I was running for an elected office. No one needs to kiss a ring. No one needs to give me special treatment. They only need to respect the office of council president or council member. Now, during that time, I visited every meeting. I visited openings of the contracts and awarding of bids. And I asked the mayor to please delay the awarding of any bids, especially when he was awarding bids on properties that the township did not even own at that time, the Baldwin property. We were against the purchase of the Baldwin property because it did take an expensive piece of commercial property off of the market. And I also asked the township engineer not to award it until the new council was seated and we could be brought up to date. But on all of these situations, we were shunted aside. As a matter of fact, if you look at every action, it was done in haste and poorly managed because of a new majority, supposedly, of the council being seated. And look what happened. People were rushing to have a land use sale, and it could have been taken, given a lot more attention, and problems could have been avoided. The siting of these properties could have been changed at that point. No reason why we could not have had it over at Maple Grange, where it truly belonged. So for me to sit here and say that this council or myself or Mr. Lynch or Vice President Bucieri were totally at fault on this is not going to happen. We had the people behind us. This is what we ran on. They gave us our impetus. They gave us their support based upon what they asked us to do. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Mr. Lynch. Is there a second? Really want to stay
I'll
here?
second
Okay.
it.
Seconded by Mrs. Bucieri. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion
I
carries.
thought somebody else
Meeting
was gonna
adjourned.
say.
Marcy seconded the motion to adjourn.
I know. Okay, I don't think you were Marcy 1P, did you? On your time,
Sorry?
the time?
No, we said 10:30.
See.
A little over.
Okay, you weren't too far off.
Another spirited meeting.
Good night.
Council,
Okay,
Council President,
You really-
I don't think so.
take care, guys.
Schedule for.
Not tomorrow. There you go. What I was gonna do is, I don't have a call.
How are you?
I have another piece of paper.
I actually have your number. I left your voicemail.
No, it's okay. It's okay. This is
Yeah, I've got your.
rodeo. That's good. That's Marcy. It's like Rockaway Township this week with
Yeah, it was a little bit like it. Anything else you think I
some
should?
time of day better. Sergeant at Arms removing
Oh,
people.
yeah.
I went out to see if Cord got in his car and left. That's why I went out there.
Else I should be aware of, but that's.
So I know it's a good idea. Only gonna have to go through the same.
Is that Pat?
I mean, look here.
What I was getting at, like,
I don't know.
You're off.
I don't know you. I don't know her.
I don't want to do it.
You know us, and it's a short-term rental for you to make.
Do what?
Yeah, shame. I don't know.
I'm not as directly involved as I once was in 2020. Have some people.
Come on, Pat, it's fun.
So, I mean, I know that,
And even if you did that, though, he's still.
right,
Yeah, no.
actually
No, he